You're going to look at, I mean, next quarter is not dependent on this quarter.
Yeah, I know, but if we've got something this quarter that's outside the column with significant control, we may not want to wait a quarter, we may want to do it next month.
That's
Right.
correct. Now, well, all this is saying is you've increased your risk in this. Now, now you also know why you increased your risk is because this individual didn't do the loan review. Now you may want to go back to that individual. Now, well, we'll get to that issue. Hold on to that thought a little bit, and we'll get to that a little bit in terms of how you can lower your risk next quarter, and be a little more clear in the next slides. And if it's not, then come back to me. Okay.
And one question. We're talking about these key controls. If you have SOX or fiducia, it sounds like it's more complex than just bringing in those key controls.
Well, SOX and fiducia primarily seem to, I think, relate to more financial controls or financial reporting controls, and there may be an overlap, and that's why it's probably a good idea to, I've always recommend is doing them together, looking at your SOX control. That's a good starting point in terms of identifying key controls, but they may not necessarily be all inclusive for this purpose. But certainly it's a great start. So inherent risk adjustments, we review the control and process inventory list. We develop benchmarks for deviation rate, failure to perform, adjust inherent risk rating based on the results of the review period, and identify responsible personnel process required to adjust enhanced risk rating trend. So in this case, again, we're staying with the lending area. And I'm presenting all this information so you can just get a clarity purposes. New loan approval. In here, we reduce our risk. Directional risk went down. ALL went up. Updates of financial information borrower went up. Updated appraisal stayed flat. So this is what we started out with when we set the inherent risk in gray. For new loan approval, went from moderate to low. Operational, you can't go below low. So low is low. Can't go minus low. Moderate to low. So each one of those areas, we're able to bring the rating or risk rating down for that particular control. For ALL, we actually go up 2 notches. We thought it was moderate. We went up to critical. Operational went from low to high. Credit went from moderate to critical. And information system went from moderate to critical. So overall, now if we summarize this takes an average. You can get more scientific and create more weighting. You'd say one control is more higher than other, or you can just take an average. This is the inherent risk rating we started out with as low. We had said low, low, moderate, low. Now we increased overall. Financial reporting went to moderate, moderate, high, moderate. So overall, we went from, for the lending area now only, we're talking about, we went from a low rating, inherent rating, to moderate residual risk. Now this is the first prong. Remember we talked about 2-prong system? Way to measure residual risk over your controls and processes. So for that particular aspect, for the lending area, we've gone from low to moderate. Because why? Because some of the controls and processes that we thought were going to happen didn't happen in time. Those things didn't occur. So that elevated our risk. So this is perhaps a little more clearer here. Again, the same controls. Inherent risk, change in risk went down, etc. Went from low to moderate. And now the more important thing is the responsible person. Because we want to build this so we can help us manage. Why did we go from low to moderate? You can drill down and see why we went. We went low to moderate because while M. Jones did his job, M. Hunter didn't do his job, went from moderate to critical. We went from site inspections from low to high, M. Jones. And now one of the things you can see here clearly is while M. Jones helped us here, he didn't really help us here. And he didn't really help us in training. Maybe he's overburdened. Maybe he's got too many things on him. Maybe he can't manage it. Maybe we need more help here. So you can read a lot into this and say, hey, the objective now will be for the next quarter is to, next quarter when we do this, or next month, if you're doing it monthly or quarterly, whenever you're doing measuring your risk, is how do we bring this moderate back down to low? If next quarter we do our ALL in a timely manner, we're going to be able to take this risk and bring it down, because our deviation rate will be much lower. So what we need to do is make sure we talk to these people and say and explain to them what they're doing wrong and see what help they need. how can we now next quarter work to bring this risk back down to the level that we thought we should be at. So that's really what this is designed to do. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, we're saying the same thing, because we're not gonna wait for next quarter if we have critical
Right.
control, we're gonna do it next month and the following month. So
Right.
by the end of next quarter, we address the issues and brought back.
Exactly. Okay. So for the lending area, this again just summarizes it by the risk categories again, the inherent risk and adjusted risk going from low to moderate, just a different way of showing it. So residual risk, as it relates to the first prong, controls, we review now we do the same thing for each of those like we did for the lending area, for all of the other functional areas, whether it's financial, operational, we do the same exact thing, and determine the adjustments to inherent risk ratings, and then you summarize those changes. And if you summarize those changes for each of those functional areas, your grid will look something like this. Now this is by area, not by controls. This is what we had worked on in our example before, just the lending area. We had gone from financial reporting low to moderate, etc. So these are the changes we had made. In the lending area, similarly for financial in this example, this is just for example purposes, went from moderate to high, etc. Human resource, internal audit, marketing, operations, workforce. So we went from inherent risk overall for financial reporting for our bank for this quarter, went from low and stayed at low. Operational went from moderate to high. Credit risk went from low to high. Information system, moderate, etc. Overall, we thought our inherent risk would be low. We've actually elevated to moderate, and now we can see which component, which credit risk, which risk areas raised the level of risk for us. This again just summarizes the inherent risk by risk categories. Financial reporting overall went from low, we just talked about that, etc. And this is the most important thing here, I think, when we're measuring any kind of an ERM model, is the direction, the change in risk. That's what helps us manage the change in risk. Where are we going? Financial reporting, we're remaining flat. Operational, we're going up. Credit, we're going up 2 notches. So these are my red alert signs here going on. Liquidity, credit, operational. I know we've got to do something in there. Now we can drill down on those. What's causing it? Who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing? And how do we get them to do what they're doing? That's our first prong. We talk about 2-prong system, our controls and processes. But controlling processes are good. We could all be doing all our job, but we could really strategically making wrong decisions. The ERM system wouldn't be complete if we didn't have a benchmarks to measure some sort of a methodology that measures our results of our business decisions. So we've got the controls and processes. Now we've got to develop a model that says, okay, are we doing the right thing? And how do we do that? What we call residual risk or quantitative adjustments. So what we need is a way to look at quantitative data to measure the impact of our business decision and strategy. So we have the same 9 risk categories: credit, operational, etc., reputation risk. For each one of those risk categories, we need to, if we could develop some sort of benchmark, a method, for example, for credit, acceptable loan concentration. If we look at a construction loan in our portfolio, for example, or more than 50%, we don't want that to be. We may be lending more in construction. We don't want that because it's high risk. So everybody is doing what they want, and from a control process, but we're making the wrong loans. That goes against what we want to do. So we want to be able to measure the results against some benchmarks, and then compare the quarterly or monthly. I mean, in this example, we're assuming that this is going to be done on a quarterly basis. I mean, some of the more dynamic softwares are really on a daily basis, if you want. But compare the quarterly results against those benchmarks, and then assign risk level based on deviations from benchmarks again. So what we want to be able to do is, if we have, for example, 50% loan concentration, and that was acceptable, for example,